Hey, Derry, real quick. Blank, lunch, and dinner.
Perfect.
Oh, boy.
What more can I do? I've been mixing these drugs, got all different flavors of your brother's your keeper. I hope he just save it, he can earn you some medals. Merciless kills, y'all can all die together. Toots on my whip, toots on my bitch. Her lips, my dick is a meeting. She finished my foot long, that bitch, she was greedy. Don't wonder if it's...
How are you now?
Good, and you?
Oh, not so bad.
Hey.
We are here for the season finale.
Of season 5. Yes.
It's not the last show of season 5,
No.
but it is the season finale of season 5.
Yes.
This will be season 5, episode 6, Bock et Biche, which I did a Google Translate, and there was no direct translation for Bock et Biche to French. And when we get to our guest here, we'll talk about that in a second. But just a little pre-show stuff. Our music today will be our first hip-hop artist.
Yes.
And they are from Virginia. I can't remember exactly where, but we've got 2 awesome songs from her at the intro and outro. So you will have enjoyed those at the top, and then hopefully you will enjoy the one at the end. So please, also for us, if we could ask you, give us reviews. Just 5 stars, 6 stars, however many stars you're allowed to give. Give all those stars. And you can do that on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or podchaser.com. Cool. If you have Apple Podcasts, you can also do podchaser.com. But Apple, I mean, you could download iTunes on your laptop if you want to. It's a pain in the ass because it's the only way an Android user can go do that for podcasts.
And I had a pretty shitty week this week, so if you want to make me feel better, that's a great way to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's. I mean,
also when you're driving, you should look up and make sure that you see if there's a pedestrian in the sidewalk on the crosswalk, because that actually happened. Middle of the crosswalk, right in front of my school.
And it wasn't like it was a last second thing. She
didn't see me until she hit me.
Fuck's sake. Sort yourself out. Learn to drive.
So yeah, nothing broken, but just I'm very surly since that. Very angry that going through a stop sign is one thing, but going through a stop sign when there's somebody in the crosswalk.
And also it hurt me because it keeps from toe curling.
True story. Because I can't move my hip too much.
So as we move along, so we're and like I said, we have our new artist for this week, Mesh.
Yes.
We're still looking for indie bands. I've got all through the season now booked, but we still need bands for season 6 and season 7, and I'm assuming we'll have a season 8 before too long. So
probably by the time we're catching up with the show, it'll be
probably so
about the time for the announcement.
So hosts at howareyounowpod.com. Just send us an email. Let us know about your band, where you're from. Send us some links. And if you have any preference for your songs that you'd like to give us, you can send us the MP3s for those. And we'd love to have you. If you're unsigned, we want to give you as much recognition as we can, because we appreciate our independent musician folk as we are independent podcasters, right?
True story.
So let's get into introduction of our guest, shall we?
Alrighty.
All right. This we've had this guest on before, and she's amazing and she's wonderful.
But it's been a minute or 3.
It's been at least 3 minutes. So, and she's very sweet and supportive of our show, and we support her wholeheartedly. Welcome back, Valerie Lopez. How are you now?
Good, and you?
Oh, not so bad.
Yay! Hi, Valerie.
Hi.
So
I was walking across the street the other day.
Right?
You're walking across the street the other day. Bang. Valerie, so for those who haven't potentially heard your episodes, because have you been on 1 or 2 of our episodes so far? 2,
I've
right?
been on one How Are You Now and one on Podscure.
That's right. Okay. I mix them up sometimes. So,
Oh, yeah.
so, and you especially asked to come back for this episode.
Yep.
Because you, so tell us why you wanted to come back for this episode.
So I would like to consider myself the preeminent French heavy episode guest. So the last episode that I did was why can't I remember the title? But it was the Degens, Les X, with the Degens from Upcountry.
Douchebags from Laval.
Douchebags from Laval. I love that.
Yeah. And I actually didn't even think about it, but I so wanted to do this episode because there are so many cool elements to this episode, and I didn't know how impactful this episode would be down the road.
Yeah.
But it was just, I was so in love with this episode that I'm like, please, 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 please book me for this episode as the guest.
And just for so everyone knows right now, there will be spoilers for season 7 in this episode. I don't believe it will come during the recap part. It will come at the end after we get through all the deep dive of the episode.
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten to a point in this show where they're planning far ahead.
Yeah.
And like they know, hey, we actually have an audience now. We can do longer storylines that are going to arc over several seasons and stuff. So it's really cool that, I mean, yes, it does mean that right now we are unable to talk about some of the things we want to talk about because it hasn't happened yet as of our podcast. But I really think it does not exist yet. But I think it's really cool that, like, as we go back and rewatch these specific episodes, that we have season 7 so fresh in our mind, we can see the tie-ins.
Yep, exactly. So, for those who haven't heard, Valerie, tell us your Letterkenny origin story and your How Are You Now podcast origin story.
Yeah, so I didn't discover Letterkenny. I had a good friend of mine, Richard, who had talked about Letterkenny, and it wasn't until this February that I decided to give it a shot and watch it, and I fell in love immediately. The wordplay is one of my favorite things in comedy, comedy writing, and it was so smart, and I love the portrayal of the Hicks, the Degens, and the Skids. It was really, really wonderful. And I think that by the last time I was a guest, I had rewatched everything 5 times every season. And now I'm up to 6 and 2 rewatches of season 7. So I'm all in. And
you're in it to win it.
I'm in it to win it, and to even do more plugs, or to convey to you how hardcore I am. I run a podcast called Comedy Wham, and we interview comics. And I'm based in Austin, Texas. And I was really, really lucky to get to sit down with K. Trevor Wilson, Squirrely Dan, at Moon Tower Comedy Festival this past spring. And his interview is available on the podcast. And then by sheer luck, the part of the cast from Letterkenny came down to Austin to basically roll out the season opener of season 7. And you can't get anything if you don't ask. And so I thought, hey, I'll ask if I can interview these folks. And I got to talk to Mark Montefiore, who's an executive producer, Jacob Tierney, Nathan Dales, Michelle Millette, and Kay Trevor again. And that was just amazing. And as if life couldn't get any better. As they were doing the final promo to season 7 rolling out, I was offered, because I was on this list now, hey, if you want to talk to any of the talent. And I'm like, well, I haven't talked to Mark Forward. He's a comic. I got to talk to Mark Forward. So cool.
It was such a good interview, too. He is such a sweet guy.
And you have absolutely inspired us to ask.
Yes. We've had no new ones yet, but
not yet.
Hopefully. I don't know if I can make one happen by the time we get to the recap show.
Probably not, because that's in 2 episodes. So.
Yep.
We'll never know. There have been a couple of yeses if we can get it worked out.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm down to talk to any of them. I'm working my way through the Skids. So
right, go for it.
But yeah, so tell us your How Are You Now podcast origin.
I knew I had an addiction issue to the TV show,
as we all do.
Yeah, therefore that meant I had to go and find fan podcasts. And at the time, and I learned from last week's episode that there are 3 now, but at the time there were only 2 podcasts, and the other one was not for me.
Yeah.
And I gave yours a shot and was hooked right away, and have been, faithful listeners since those early episodes.
We're such incredibly funny weirdos.
Weird, complete.
Yes.
We're complete dorks. So.
Duh.
Well,
I don't think Wayne would hang out with us at all.
I think Derry would.
Dan might.
Dan probably
I don't think Wayne would. So, and McMurray would want to.
yeah. I think McMurray would be real interested in Tiara.
Oh, definitely. Are you part of the lifestyle?
I just had a text exchange about the lifestyle.
Oh boy. So anyway, so you mentioned Comedy Wham. Is there anything else? So tell us where to find Comedy Wham, and then plug anything else you'd like to plug.
Yeah, well, comedywham.com is our website, and you can search for Letterkenny, and the 3 interviews will pop up. We write articles that go with the interviews, but you can subscribe to us on all of the podcast platforms and listen to all of our interviews. We interview people who are based in Austin, so these would be names that you wouldn't recognize. But then anytime there's a festival that brings comics into Austin, you could hear those interviews, and I've talked to people from, I'll see if I can do a Canadian bent on this in honor of Letterkenny, but Scott Thompson was the most amazing experience that I got to have. He was a Kids in the Hall actor, performer, besides Kay Trevor, Deanne Smith, and Nathan McIntosh, or some Canadian names, but people like Andy Kindler I've gotten to sit down and talk to. I mean, it's just, Sal Vacano has an appearance on one of my podcasts, which is just crazy that I have his voice on my podcast. He dropped in on an interview that I was in the middle of, which was like, okay, sure.
Come on,
I'm not going to turn you away.
Who would be your ideal get? If you can't pick one, give me 3.
Well, I'm a big fan of an old podcast called The 10-Minute Podcast that had Chris D'Elia, Brian Callen, and Will Sasso. Mm-hmm. And if I could get any of those 3, even though Will Sasso doesn't do stand-up, if I could get any of those 3, that would be sweet. That would be sweet. Other than Will, I've met both Will and, I've met Brian Callen a few times and Chris D'Elia, but I'm just too scared to ask.
Yeah, I think for me, if I was doing a comedy one, I would be definitely like Patton Oswalt.
Oh, yes.
Who I
would love to sit
adore.
down with Patton Oswalt just to talk true crime with him about his wife and the journey that she went on.
Oh, God, yeah. Hari Kondobalu, I love.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, there's so many. I probably, and Maria Bamford, who I adore.
Yeah. Love her.
She is so funny and weird, and she's just, and Brian Posehn. Yeah. I have a friend who got to meet him the last time he was through town, because my friend is trying to become a stand-up comic and actually got a little 5-minute part of the open and got to meet and take pictures with him. And yeah, that was really cool. Nice.
Cool. Yeah.
So let's say we get started on the recap real quick. So
sounds good.
So we can get into the episode. So season 5, episode 5, back to back,
Okay,
which featured our guest Jake Whitko of WrestleThon and music from Finding Freedom. They were amazing. The episode, as I see it, was basically Riley and Jonesy becoming winners without actually taking the ice.
Yeah, they have finally earned something that in even their own eyes they feel is worthy.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, they
like for real this time.
It was a good episode, and they got some pride in themselves. Mm-hmm. They're confident about being who they are. They're still they. Mm-hmm. they are a unit, and I think they forever will be. So it was a good episode, but it was also about Stuart.
Yep.
him breaking down, having an addiction, and having to find his way through it, though we don't really see what the outcome was.
Right. We don't get that until season 6.
Until the next season, yeah. So excited for that. So let's get into the deep dive of Bock et Biche, shall we?
Right.
So so we start off with the open at the Ukrainian bar. Derry has something to say, but he just won't say it, and they keep nagging him about it because the people who just say it's kind of like the vague booking is what he was doing. So
or sending a message where today was so terrible, and then not saying anything.
Right. So and so then finally he says,
"Okay, fine. I'm gonna say it.
Okay, here it goes.
You know microbrewing?
Like craft beer?
Yeah. I always thought it was craft beard on account of the guys who make it always have beards.
So is all that for just this, that it?
Thank you for inviting us into the circle of trust, Derry. I believe the preferred term is lumbersexuals.
Well, craft beard makes a pocket load more sense.
Craft beards doesn't really bother me, but it's the clever wordplay that goes into the naming them that I find hard to swallow. Like, so hoppy together, or barley breathing. Now, why don't you just call it what it is? Fucking beer.
Deer in headlights.
Yeah, I'll contribute. Ale by comparison.
Stout and about.
Sounds actually pretty good, stout and bout.
Stout and bout's not bad at all, actually.
I drink some stouts and abouts.
I'm surprised we're not drinking a stout and bout right now.
I think what you want to do is you want to put an animal in the name because people love animals. Like cute koala cream or happy hamster honey.
No. What you want to do is you want to put a berry in the name because people love berries. Partridge berry pilsner or elderberry ale. Pleasing to the ears and the mouth.
No, Derry, no. No, Dan, no. No, Katie, no. What you're supposed to do is put something cozy in the names, because people like being cozy, right? Like toque or mittens. And then if you really want to double down on it, you put something outdoorsy in the name, because people love being outdoors, like lake or mountains. So what's really going to boil down to is toque, lake, bruco, or mountain, mittens, alpine ale.
Blanket, fire, light.
There you go, Derry.
The other ways to go is to use a clever but ironical statement, like, I'm bitters.
See, I'd go suggestive, like slip it in cider.
Katie.
What?
I made him do it all the way through that part because that was my favorite right there. Slip it in cider.
and then she does the fingers too.
Yeah.
Like, you go, Katie.
And Wayne, how uncomfortable he is anytime someone brings up some kind of like sex pun. Oh, I love it. Like that's the kind of shit I would do if my friends were uncomfortable about that. I would absolutely. What innuendo? Innuendo?
See, I wonder if had she not done the fingers thing, if he would have been so offended.
I mean, every time they start making like sex jokes, he gets uncomfortable. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
it kind of comes out of left field too, because her first examples were cutesy animal related,
right.
And then she goes to this full turn of suggestive.
exactly.
Those are the two things that Katie is: cute and sex.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fitting. Yeah.
It's very.
So we cut back to the bar again. All the Hicks are there. Tyson, Joint Boy, and McMurray are all sitting there having a shot. And Wayne gets a call from Jean-Guy, his French Hick counterpart, to come to the Bock et Biche in Quebec for his sister Annick, since they are English and they would like some English folks to help him out and also help out with the douchebags from Laval.
Douchebag de Laval.
Yeah, douchebag de Laval. Also, well, after that, so he asked the guy, he agrees. He asked the guys if they're in. They're all in. Schmelt shows up. Schmelt put on some weight. He's got some bulk on him now.
Yeah, he's got some muscle. He's been working out.
And they're all like confused, like, who the fuck are you? Why are you here? They explain what a Bock et Biche, stag and doe, all that stuff is, and they make him go away. And they find out that it's for. He tells them that it's for Annick. Derry is sad about missing out on his chance to be with a French girl. There's a discussion about who's driving. All the boys are way too hammered. So Katie agrees to drive, but not all of them can go in the truck. So she recruits Riley and Jonesy,
who just happened to show up right at the perfect time
and repeat.
So
I love that.
Fuck boys, we'd have a scrap and they're out the door. But not yet. No, not yet. McMurray has this whole discussion about how very nervous he is about being with the French because they're all just separatists and causing problems. And there's a whole talk about separatists. And Wayne has to come back and say, when a friend asks for help, you help them, as he does. And then
I'll have a scrap.
I'll have a scrap. Right. Then they hit the road. Then they arrive at Salon d'Agriculture. Which
the Ag Hall.
The Ag Hall, yep. The Hicks meet with there out front with the French Hicks and shake hands, and McMurray's late hopping out and comes to meet everyone. Jean-Claude, Annick's fiance, and Jean-Lance, his cousine, introduce themselves and complain about having a Bock Biche because that is not something they do. But Jean-Guy is trying to be diplomatic, saying, you know,
this is from our
right. This
part of,
we grew up in this Hawkesbury. I think it was the name of Hawkesbury or something like that. Which was like right on the border. So there's some English influence for them. So, and anyway, he's all stuff. Jean-Claude is all stuffy about it. They go inside. They walk in. Katie goes in first. Well, Wayne's there. He lets Katie go in.
Yes, he stops to make sure she goes in first.
Right. He steps to the side as everybody goes in. He tells the old fella taking the money that he asked for 9 tickets, and then gives another $100 for the couple. The old fella asks Wayne if why he has no girlfriend. Pourquoi?
What do you want to know?
He's a little taken aback, but the old fella explains, he goes, no, I'm into women and I fuck a lot of women every day.
Like that whole scene, I kept turning to Dean and saying, that's going to be you. That is going to be you. Just talking about, no, I like women.
But he's taken aback about it. And then he explains to himself that he has a niece who's unlucky in love. Wayne says, yeah, same thing for me. And I would have got clips of that, but most of it is in French and most folks wouldn't understand it without having a translation to go along. So that's why I don't have a lot of clips for this show. The 2 clips that I have are kind of long, but that's okay. That's what we got this time. But I'm sure everybody's seen it and has read along. So, so anyway, the old fella says he'll introduce him later. Wayne says, okay. And he allons-y and goes to sit down. And there's a little quick cut and they're all sitting at this big table. All of them are there. And Annick tries to get her fiance Jean-Claude to come sit with him, but he won't. He's still being a poopy pants. They do a shot of Sortilège, which is maple syrup whiskey, according to what it said on the screen, I guess, if I got that right. McMurray throws his over his shoulder when they do the shots. And then they start asking what the French Hicks do for work, and they get to Jean-Carl.
What's about you, Jean-Carl?
Me, TD. TD Bank.
Huh?
TD.
TD Bank.
TD Bank? Yeah. TD?
TD Bank.
TD Bank?
TD Bank.
TD Bank. Huh? TD Bank.
Huh?
TD Bank.
TD Bank. TD Bank.
Huh?
Come on, TD Bank. Ben, vous connaissez la TD Bank?
I want to make sure I'm hearing this right. TD Bank.
TD Bank.
Oui, TD Bank.
Bank. So like a rip club.
That's what I thought.
Like TD Bank.
Oui, on calisse TD Bank.
Chris, TD Bank.
Oh!
TD Bank.
Yeah. TD Bank.
What is it, like almost a year now? Every time that commercial comes on, we're like, TD Bank. TD Bank.
Yep. And I cut out a part of that in between. There's a little segment of Annick telling Derry that she's not happy with the way things have been going with planning the wedding, and it's just not been good, and she's unhappy. But she was happy when she saw Derry show up. Jean-Claude notices them talking, having a little intimate conversation. They're not touching or anything, but it's obvious there's something going on, at least to him. Then big sounds start to happen. It sounds like
two-step, Texas two-step.
Well, it sounds more like it sounds like Jurassic Park when
right. And they even like showed like things, bouncing on tables.
Right. So they realize it's the Degens from Laval have showed up, and so it's time to have a scrap. They go out, and Katie has to run to the bathroom to get McMurray. And but he's still a polite enough guy. He wants to wash his hands. He'll have to forgive me. I'm not washing my hands. Get out of here. Let's go. So
can I just jump into
sure
with the whole TD Bank? Then you in the midst of between when the douchebags from Laval arrive and then McMurray being chased out of the bathroom to help out. You've got Jonesy and Riley, the clueless ones, who are just walking into the TD Bank conversation,
right.
And they're like, "What's all this talk? And is it close by or MapQuested?
Should we get a motel room or
yeah?" And that whole callback to that whole "or" bit that they do.
I find myself doing that a lot now, doing the "or." But yeah, so McMurray runs outside and comes in with a flying kick.
I loved that whole thing. Where he just it was almost forgive me. It was almost a Naruto run. He was running and just leaped into the air and
Mick Naruto. Somebody's gonna have to do that. Somebody with some good
JB.
Photoshop skills.
Wait, I'm sorry.
JB's
Do you
memes.
mean Jean-Luc Naruto?
Yes, Jean McNaruto. And I love how they start calling Wayne John Wayne now.
I had that written down to talk about later because of all of that.
Yeah. So then we see Jean-Claude getting his ass kicked by one of the D-gens until Derry comes to save him. Jean-Claude, of course, looks embarrassed. Derry is just wailing on the guy until Wayne comes to pull him off of him. Anik is, of course, watching this whole thing go down, and she's really impressed with Derry, and Jean-Claude notices. And they go back in the bar. All the hicks are drinking and celebrating. Derry sees Anik and Jean-Claude arguing and starts to go over, but Wayne stops him. And Jean-Claude is...
He walks away from her.
He walks away, and he gets on his phone. He's looking at all the hicks.
Mm-hmm.
Anik takes off her engagement ring, puts it in her pocket. Derry sees that. Then Derry comes over there finally to Anik, and she tells him that she broke off the engagement because she was basically in love with him, with Derry. And she says, "Do you like to dance?" And I fucking love to dance. I mean, who more perfect to ask to dance other than Derry, right? Music plays. Katie dances with Jean-Carl, and then everybody else starts dancing. Except Wayne, who's over next to the wall.
He's content.
He's just kind of looking out.
He
over
had
the
his
crowd.
scrap.
Yeah, he had his scrap.
Now he's good.
Yeah, but he's still lonely. You could see it.
Yeah.
And then till Tyson Joy Boy bring him a shot, coax him back to the table for more shots. McMurray joins them. More shots. And then through the door, a very pretty woman shows up. Hugs the little old man, and the old man points out Wayne to her, and she smiles.
And Wayne is noticing this.
Yeah, Wayne's noticing this. He starts getting up, and Jean-Claude's crew shows up.
All the blue plaid shirts.
Right. Fighting starts, but Wayne is just focused on the woman. Fists and kicks and everything's bottles breaking all around him.
Mm-hmm.
He's just locked in. They're a tractor beam. He's just locked into her.
His eyes are wide open.
Right, wide open. Yeah, he gets to her, and right as he gets to her, Jean-Claude walks up behind her and puts not his. Yeah, as we find out, it's not his.
Puts another flannel.
Puts another flannel like his onto her, and she kind of frowns at that point, and that is.
It's like a resigned,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Jean-Claude is relishing this because he sees what's happening between Wayne and the woman, and he's just like, ha, ha, ha. Yeah.
She is one of us. So yeah, and him looking, and this is an observation, but has nothing to do with Letterkenny. He looks just like John Krasinski. From
Yes, absolutely.
I kept looking at him, especially like how he is now in the Jack Ryan show on Amazon.
Yeah.
So I'm like with the beard and everything. I'm like, damn, he looks spot on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the episode ends. So let's get into a little bit of thoughts, theories, trivia, observations, and stuff real quick. I do have some trivia terms, and I believe you do too. So let me get into what I have real quick. So a trivia term, and you can validate this, Valerie. Bock Biche is not really a thing done in Quebec, but it is by other names in Ontario, Manitoba, usually called stag and doe, wedding social, etc. It is not a bachelorette party, but a party to help raise money for the bride and groom to help pay for their wedding expenses. So it seems more equitable for the bride and groom to pay for the wedding expenses instead of one part of, the bride's family to pay for it. So does that sound correct? Do I have that right?
Well,
from your knowledge?
I don't know a lot. I mean, I haven't researched that, so
okay,
yeah,
that's all right. Then also trivia: the whiskey they drink is called Guy and Bruce. It has cats on it.
I love that it's Guy and Bruce.
Guy and Bruce,
like Gus and Brew,
right?
So it's the same,
right? And as I said before, their salon d'agriculture is basically the French ag hall. And as we just talked about, looking at how wide open as Wayne's eyes can be, as he's locked in on the woman. We don't know who she is yet,
right?
So what do you have, Valerie? Do you have anything that you'd like to?
Well, so my observations on this episode, and why I really wanted to talk about this episode is that final scene for a show that is so dialogue heavy and wordplay heavy. And I timed this when I was rewatching it this morning. It's 5 minutes from the time that the song starts until that final scene of absolutely no dialogue happening, but all of the visuals telling you like so many things that are happening between Wayne looking forlorn to Tyson and Joint Boy bringing him in to have some drinks, to the D-Gens from Laval showing up and to me, the scene where he is walking through that crowd and the choreography of that crowd, of the fighting happening all around him and him being just locked in. I always got like a goosebumps when I would watch that scene, but even knowing what I know now, I still got super emotional watching that scene. And I'm like, to have a show that is so funny and witty and smart, and to have it give you like that much of an emotional reaction, it's like, oh my God, I love this show so much.
Totally.
And then the whole, so many great, again, with it, almost every episode, so many great bits, the whole titty bank, and then the repetition with, I'll have a shot, everybody repeating, I'll have a shot, I'm hammered, everyone repeating. That whole repetition thing is so pervasive throughout this episode that, it's, you think about sitting in the writer's room and you wonder, okay, let's just come up with a phrase, and to eat up time, let's just have everybody repeat it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it doesn't take up a lot of time, but it takes up just enough.
Versus the fact that sometimes repetition is just really, really funny, and it obviously is with this. Well,
I think that's part of what makes Letterkenny so successful is everybody knows, the allegedly is because they've been said it over and over, and all. I'd have a scrap. All that. Yeah. It's been repeated so many times, and it's just part of the Letterkenny culture.
Yeah.
You have anything to share, Tiara?
Well, I've got a couple things. So the beer, we talked about the whiskey being different,
right?
The beer, and please fix my pronunciation here. La Mort de Chien?
La Mort de Chien.
La Mort de Chien. Okay.
Death of the Dog.
The Death of the Dog, which was a poem by Victor Hugo. And it's on the label of the bottle. We've got
the bottle of beer.
What?
The beer bottle.
Is not what I said.
I didn't. I was just making sure.
The label on the bottle of beer.
Okay, I was asking.
It's got a Saint Bernard. And there's the fleur de lis, and like it's basically Puppers, but the French version.
Right.
And I just found that really, really cute.
A Saint Bernard with a toque.
With a toque, that's right. That's the part. When McMurray is sitting at the bar like I've been noticing more and more as these seasons go on how little his mouth is moving now when he talks. And in this one, like it barely was moving when he was hammered.
Yeah.
I'm hammered. And it wasn't that you couldn't hear what he said, because sometimes you can't understand a fucking thing that comes out of his mouth.
Right.
But it was just fascinating to me how little movement. Like I wonder if how much practice it takes to do something like that.
Well, he's pretty skilled at doing his different dialects, so that's probably something he's actually worked on quite a bit, I'm guessing.
Probably.
So
and then when the Letterkenny Hicks meet the other Hicks, and they go through the name thing again, and McMurray's like, well, then I guess I'm Jean McMurray. And that's when they start calling them John Wayne and Jean Dan and
Jean Squirrely Dan.
Jean Squirrely Dan, yes. And I thought that was adorable, and the Jean Wayne is probably my favorite.
Jean Wayne.
Well, I can't say it the right way.
Which all serves to reinforce from the Le Hicks how you have this parallel universe between the two Hicks.
Yeah, they're exactly this, which is kind of funny that Jean Carl, which is I would say that's got to be Derry's doppelganger of the Hicks, because Jean Guy would be Wayne's, and Jean Pierre, of course, is Dan's. So it stands to reason that that's the case. That he works at a bank. TD Bank.
Yeah. You heard of TD Bank?
I just think that's funny for a Hick to be working in a bank. So it kind of makes you wonder what his work attire looks like.
Right? I mean, and then the last little thing that I noticed was when they all took that shot of the maple whiskey, all of them were just a little bit flushed after. And I thought that was a really cool little point that I'm sure was done on purpose. I mean, it might have been that they were a little flushed before, but like they took the shot and they were red, which happens to me when I use shots. So I thought that was really cool.
Have you ever had maple syrup whiskey?
No,
I don't like
maple
syrup.
I don't like maple flavored. I'm a bad Canadian. I don't like maple flavored stuff.
I mean, I would try it.
I know you would. You had bacon donuts before, so I totally understand that.
Figure it out.
It's not my thing.
Got to try something.
Yeah.
Got to try things.
That's right.
Got to try new things. That's why you like it.
try new things.
That's why you like Indian food now.
Yes, I know. It's because, let the record show that because of Dean, I have expanded the foods that I eat in my life, but that does not mean I'm ready to try and enjoy other things.
Oh, figure it out. So shall we get into the spoiler section that we wanted to discuss?
Oh, I have one question.
I
have one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
When they were talking about names earlier, do French people really not have middle names? Is that
I think they have I wouldn't say that they have no middle names. It's more that they have multiple names.
It's because that was a statement that French people don't have middle names.
Yeah, I think it's just like all hyphenated type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, so my background and why I am considering myself the preeminent French episode expert. That's very tongue-in-cheek, by the way, for anyone listening, is I was born in Belgium, so my first language is French, and so I, being raised somewhat by that, that French culture, it's multiple middle names. I was a little surprised by the notion that, we don't have middle names, and maybe that was a Quebec thing, but certainly Western Europe, you have multiple middle names.
Well, so here's what I'm reading. French people have 1, 2, or more given names, first names. Middle names, in the English sense, do not exist. So it's not a middle name. It's just a long, very, very long first name.
Okay.
So, and middle initials are never used for second or further given names.
Huh.
All right.
So there you go.
Then.
Their question answered.
Yeah.
So.
Okay then. Cool.
Yeah. I had a friend when I was in middle school in Texas who had moved. His mother was French. His father was Spanish. So his name was, and then his mother had divorced the father and married an American, and moved to Texas.
Oh God.
So now he took his stepfathers adopted him, and so his name became Nicholas Carlos Santiago Gutierrez Harper.
Whoa.
Yep. I have met quite a few Latinx people who have 7 or 8 names, and taken care of many of their children. Actually,
pick a name.
Well, and a lot of it for a lot of the families,
it's family stuff.
Well, a lot of the families that I worked with, it was actually a Catholic thing because all of the girls would have the first name of Marie for Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what all of the boys had the same first name, but everyone had a different middle name, or 5 or 6. But every girl was Mary, like Mary Teresa and Mary Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
all right then.
Interesting. Different cultures have different ways of doing that.
It is. Just do it my way, and it'll be fine. So are we ready? Are we ready to do the spoiler thing now?
All right. Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. There will be spoilers here in this segment.
If you have not yet watched season 6 and season 7, please stop here.
Well done.
All right. So Valerie, let's talk about let's slide into the season 6-7 universe.
Slide into it.
Yeah.
Slip it
and
inside
present day.
So as I spoke before, after watching the end of this, I went and rewatched the end of season 7 because what I wanted to see is if any of the guys that walked in with Jean-Claude's group was in that group of guys.
Right.
Was the guy that she was that Marie Fred was with at the end, and I
the
didn't,
end of season 7.
It didn't. Yeah, I didn't see anybody that matched. So I don't. So to me, I don't know if it's somebody else who's throwing in the mix. I have a lot of thoughts about season 7, which I think. Speaking of alternate universes, I think season 7 is Wayne going through grief. I think Marie Fred turned him down initially, and. The whole thing was him grieving over that. You want to crack an egg? That he's the egg. He's been cracked, and then it goes through.
Let's
and
not go too deep into that. You got to say something.
I know, but that's my theory. Is
right.
he's built this narrative in his head, and that the only reason that they would break up is if she cheated on him. That's my thought. But
all right, so we know who the pessimist among us is because.
Yeah.
From my perspective, that 7th season, you're right. We haven't gotten the official, she said yes, but she's around. And so they've built the season to make you think that, everything's moving forward with this engagement in this relationship. And so, going to this season 5 finale, it's like, you have the love of his life. He's found her, and that's why everything was so magical about that final scene. Yeah. And then that bookend of in the same hall that he found his true love is the true love who breaks his heart. And when rewatching this episode, the season 5 episode, there is, you actually do see that door that you saw in season 7. Yeah. And I was like, I'm also looking for, okay, where are the hints? Where are the indicators?
Where are the Easter eggs?
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, you just see the door.
Yep.
So yeah. And it's
maybe it's a twin.
Yeah.
I don't think they would use that lame trope.
No. Yeah.
I wouldn't think.
So,
let's hope not.
If they tell us at season 8 that, she never said yes, and that this was the grief season, and he was just coming to terms, and she was just hanging around a little bit, and then they're bringing back, why can't I remember her name? Guys, help me remember her name.
Anik?
No.
Rose?
Yeah.
Rosie?
Yeah, Rosie. Yeah. That was all part of building that story that we won't know officially until a later season. It's like, oh man, I was an optimist. I thought they were going to move forward. Look at her. What did she do? Bad. Well,
Marie it could Fred. Be. I mean, there's thoughts there that, so maybe it wasn't, and maybe she heard back that Wayne was cheating with Rosie again because Rosie showed back up, and maybe that's the information she got from Jean-Claude, and that's, you know, she then felt the need to move on.
Except that they had the conversation, and he unequivocally said no, and
I don't know. So it's who knows? Who knows?
He
We'll
totally
find
does all of I don't do the spoiler
I'm gonna do
thing
the
or the like.
conspiracies.
Yeah, I don't spend hours thinking about. I'll be honest. I don't spend hours thinking about Letterkenny the way that Dean does.
Figure it out.
Well, I like to, as with all of the shows, even the ones that I really like, I like to enjoy them. I don't want to pick them apart. Like I pick apart things that really catch out in my brain, but I don't then like project like what I think is going to happen. And I don't know if that's just how my brain works, but it's like, okay, so you may hear that a spoiler from a movie, right?
But to me, that doesn't bother me really. I mean, I may get annoyed that I hear a spoiler, but there's still, from start to end, there's a whole arc of things that have to happen in order to get to that, and I want to know
how they got to it. Yeah,
so that's still interesting to me. Whether or not
spoilers don't spoil it for me, but I don't seek them out.
Yeah,
like, I don't actively avoid them like some people that I know, because that wouldn't be fair, since I usually watch things when it's been when I can watch it in bulk.
Yeah, right.
So. Like, it's weird when I watch a show that's actually weekly, which I think we're in right now. We've got a couple of shows that I'm like, why can't I? Oh, right. Because this is actual TV, not.
Right. So, yeah, Rick and Morty.
Yeah, Rick and Morty. That was exactly what I said. Rick and Morty, the John Oliver show, because I love him. And
on that new one that's
Unexplained.
on Netflix. Explained.
Yeah.
Which is on Netflix and releasing them once a week, which is different for Netflix, but I'm with it. So what else do you think? What else are your thoughts on that, Valerie?
I don't really have any others, but I almost I just realized that we haven't talked about the music all that much with this episode. So if
lots of French music,
of course, lots of French music, but you know, in comparison to the Le Hicks episode, which had a really long list of songs, this episode only has 4 songs, and then that I don't know if it was spliced and looped to make it 5 minutes, because as I mentioned, that last scene is 5 minutes of that song playing.
Right.
That their ability, and we talked about this on the last time, the ability to match the music to the episode is one of the strongest things about this show. And that song was just perfection. Even though it was in French. And so you know that most of the audience watching the episode didn't know what the song was about. It was just lyrically and musically just such a perfect pairing. And one of the things that I learned during one of my interviews is that Jared Kiso is the one that collects, you know, kind of like what you're doing, Dean, with getting songs and people to submit songs for the podcast. Right. He gets people to submit for the episode, and he listens to everything, and then makes the call on how to include music and where to include the music. So, you know,
that's where I took my inspiration from, was from him doing that. For the show, so it made sense for me to try to do the same thing for ours, because I mean,
well, we can't always like pick one that goes specifically.
No, it's hard to do that.
That's really difficult.
But I do have because next week will be James Honeycutt, who I've played with in a band. And
we do kind of love him a lot.
Yeah, and he's a really great friend. He's like a brother to me.
Amazing singer too.
We have some music for him on next episode, which is some of his older music and one of his newest music pieces. But for season 7, James writes some really dark, heartbreaking stuff.
Like murder ballads, like updated to modern day.
Yeah, well, some are murder ballads, but some are, just
dark like that.
Dark heartbreak, stuff. And I definitely want to use a couple of those for that episode. So I have selected that because number one, James is an excellent artist, and we love him, and that music will fit. So again, we're looking for more artists. So So are we done with spoilers now? Okay. So
I think we're good.
I'll make sure I mark those spots once we get all everything so that the spoiler section for the show notes. So
and welcome back if you're just joining us after our spoilers.
I think the music commentary that wasn't a spoiler, so
no, true.
No,
very
not
true.
at all.
Very true. So are we ready to get into a little
fuck fight?
Hell yeah.
Fuck off. So not a lot of folks as we've had in this episode, aside, I mean, there's been big crowds of folks, but nobody who really had much talking going on in this episode.
Right.
So we will start off as we usually do with Wayne. Jean Wayne. So Tiara, Valerie.
Ferda Wayne in this, he wants to maintain that friendship with these people that, I just love how a friend asks for help, you give them help. He's like, these guys didn't have to call us, but they know that we're down for a party and that we're all friends, so let's do it.
And we're in for a scrap.
And we're in for a scrap.
Needs to be had.
Yep.
So.
And speaking to that commitment to friendship he's learning French to be able to communicate with these. That was on display a few times in the episode, and he finds the love of his life. So I'm Ferda for him.
There's a magic love at first sight moment. Yes.
And I don't want to say that this, aside from Tanis, to me, I think so far, Marie Fred, or the woman in this episode,
right?
She actually is a beautiful woman. I mean, you have Clark Bacco, who's very young. You have Katie, who's very young. You have Bonnie McMurray, who's very young. Marie Fred really is womanly, beautiful. Does that make sense? She's not just a cute girl.
She's not cute. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, wow. So when and so going back to spoiler, yes, it makes sense of the extra heartbreak because this is maturity, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's go to Derry.
Ferda. I'm going to be a lot of Ferda this episode because a lot of this show was about friendship.
Yeah.
Yes, friendship and love, but it was about friendship and
well, friendship is love.
Friendship is love. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I had a conversation with someone the other day where I was saying that I use the word love to mean a lot more than just a romantic love.
Many versions of love. Yeah.
And that I tell my friends that I love them, and
Same.
they were like kind of uncomfortable with that. Well, how do I know that you mean friendship love? Ask me. I feel like there's a difference between I love you and I'm in love with you.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Yeah, so
yeah.
So yeah, with Derry, I love him.
Yeah.
I want to be his friend.
Yeah.
I think this might have happened the last time I was on. I'm fight with Derry. I mean,
you want to fight with Derry?
I totally want to fight him. It's like, dude, she's engaged. Why are you getting all flutter eyes just because she tells you she wasn't happy and she's playing you, dude, and then losing control in the fight. Derry, figure it out.
He's so soft-hearted though.
He is.
Katie.
Ferda. I don't have much to say about Katie in this
She
one.
drove.
No, she didn't. She got the boys to drive.
She drove one truck.
Nope, she got the boys to drive.
Okay, I thought, who drove the other one?
She got the boys to drive. There's two of them.
Okay, each of them drove. I see.
Because they came up right after she was like, well, not everyone's going to fit in my truck. And then they showed up and she's like, 2 drivers, you drive.
Okay. How do they sit? How are they apart?
I know. They're one right after the other. So I'm sure that they're still communicating close enough.
Their tractor beam.
Yeah. They have a heartstring that's connected.
Yeah, exactly. Their brain cell.
Yes.
Valerie, who are you on Miss Katie's?
Miss Katie's. I'm a Ferda with her. I just that beer scene was just so good with the cutesy animals and then going to suggestive. That's what I appreciate about her.
Yeah, that and Slip It Inside It. Squirrely Dan.
Ferda. I don't
fine.
think I'm going to have much of anything more on there.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you Ferda?
I'm Ferda.
This is definitely a Ferda episode to me.
Yeah. So Riley and Jonesy then, same.
Proud
Tyson,
of them. Yeah.
All right. McMurray.
He didn't wash his hands.
That's what I was gonna say.
Well, Katie didn't want him to. She wanted him to go fight.
I know, but
you don't know with him being in the lifestyle, what's
Right?
on that thing.
So, are you more upset? So, which one?
I don't know.
Which one should he be washing? What thing should he be washing in
All
the
of it. Just
Wash
like
your hands
cover
and your
in-
penis.
Right? Here's some hand sanitizer. Just put it on your whole body and you'll be okay for a minute.
I don't know what comedian it was I was listening to. No, it wasn't even a comedian. I don't think. Talking about it was a guy who played Gus in Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Talking about how Gus always washes his hands. He goes, you should be just as you should know that when you leave the bathroom, if every guy in the shower has washed himself very well there. So it's not very likely that his hands have gotten dirty. More than likely, his hands have dirtied.
True story. True story.
So where are we? So you don't. If you fight him, you have to touch him.
I know. But, so I guess
Wear gloves.
Ferda, like at a distance. Ferda at a distance.
Wait, Ferda?
I ain't gonna shake your hand after this.
No, I'm fight. I'm fight.
Yeah.
So you're fight.
Yeah. I'm fight.
Okay. All right. So then we're going to get to the French chicks, Jean-Guy, which is Wayne's doppelganger, who doesn't really look anything like him, but
just acts like him.
Just acts like him.
Ferda.
He's the leader. And Yuval.
Yeah, I'm Ferda for everybody but Jean-Claude.
Yeah, I didn't even put him on because I knew everybody was going to fight him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Ferda.
What about Anik as well?
Yeah.
She's a fight.
I thought she might be a fight with you.
I think she needs a friend.
She's starting shit.
If she's not happy, she should be going about this the right way and needs a friend, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. So yeah, lots of there is no fucking going on in this episode.
There really isn't.
I mean, unless maybe the old guy.
He is kind of adorable. Give me a couple of years, he might just be my type.
He's probably the same age as me.
No, shut up.
He's way older.
Oh man!
Whenever you make old jokes about being old, I want to slap you.
Because I am old. God damn it!
No, you're older. That's it.
So let's have any final thoughts on this episode.
I don't actually have any. No, I don't.
You don't have any?
I don't think I have anything that I haven't already talked about.
I mean, it was a good episode.
It was.
I like
the
how
fight scenes were amazing.
Yeah, the end of every season seems to be planting seeds for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I do like that, and they've kept that up.
Yeah.
Because it makes you want to know what's going to happen next with this
Who is
woman.
this girl?
Right.
Yeah. Who's this woman?
And it was really cool how in the they've basically quote unquote wrapped up the storylines last week with the skids and the hockey players so that they could dedicate this entire episode to the story, the season ending for the Hicks. And to me, this is just such a classic episode with the repetition of the wordplay, the choreography for the fight scenes, and then that closing scene. You can't.
Yeah, that closing scene really was amazing, and not even I understand from the emotional point of view. Definitely, I've never had that experience of locking eyes across the room and all that, but I love the idea of it. But just how all of the melee was going on around Wayne and he's just calmly walking through it. It was like watching a really high budget, kung fu movie, when you can see these beautifully choreographed fight scenes that are one long scene and they don't have any cuts in it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think that's how they do it, but that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
True.
Like the fight scene on Train to Busan or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I know they. I know they have fight choreographers on the show. So
sure.
Yeah. So
yeah, major props to them in this episode.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's get into the judging of the cosplay. Folks.
Oh yeah.
So shall we?
All right.
I sent them to Valerie as well.
Good.
And we only got. Well, we should have had 3. There was one that just didn't make it through because I don't know what happened with the email. The email came through, but it didn't make it through in the email, the picture. So we've got 2. We've got Aaron Schoen, who is dressed as Super Soft Squirrely Dan.
Yes.
And then I don't know what their name is. I've asked them what their name is. And I believe the only one that out of the 2 of them really is, well, I guess they both could be, but I believe it's a Miss Katie's that's being showcased in this one. But as soon as I have their name, that's I'll know. So what do you think there? What are you thinking?
I think I like both of them. I think they're really cute. I think I like Swirly Dan a little bit more. It's just so like the tiny cupcake and the little hat on top of his hat, and like just little tiny details are adorable. I love that.
Yeah, I agree. Looks like he's probably a teacher or something too. He's in a classroom.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. 3 Before Me is something that's up in my room too. So yeah, elementary or middle school maybe.
Good. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know if 3 Before Me is something they do in high schools.
What's 3 Before Me?
Ask 3 people before you get to me to find an answer, basically. Like ask your neighbor if they can answer the question.
Google it.
Kinda.
Valerie, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I gotta say, I love the little details. It's not, for me, definitely it's great to do the character, but then to layer on the little super soft birthday touches, it's just that wins me over. I mean, I love the Katie cat outfit and the pigtails. That's really well done.
The pigtails are adorable.
Yeah. But you add the character plus little touches. Yeah, that's my vote's for that.
He kind of looks like Nick Offerman. As Squirrely Dan.
A little bit.
Yeah, he does.
Like I was going to say, he actually kind of looks, as a real person, kind of looks like the actor who plays Dan's doppelganger in this. Like he looks a little bit physically more like that actor.
So we're all on for Aaron there.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron.
Squirrely Dan, nice job.
Very, very well. I will be contacting you. And Casey Lehman, who also was for our last one, I haven't sent out his shirt yet, and so I will be sending them both out. They were both beautiful Squirrely Dans.
There's been a few things that have happened in the last month that
just a few,
yeah,
just a couple, one or two.
So yeah, that's so. Aaron, thank you. We will be sending out. Well, I'll be in touch with you about finding out what you want to get. So next week's episode will be the end of season 5,
the holiday one-off.
Holiday one-off, yeah, the Christmas special, 3 Wise Men. Our guest will be Eric O'Doyle, who is the main mod for the Letterkenny subreddit.
Awesome.
And we will have our music from James Honeycutt on that episode. So,
Jimmy.
Valerie, one more time, if you'd like to plug anything before on our way out.
Yes.
Comedy Wham. Anything else?
Comedy Wham. I did another podcast for many years, and we took a break, and we just released an episode, and we don't know when we're going to record again. So we're kind of one of those weird, goofy podcasts, and that show is called Radio Tatas. That's TATAS, and it's
we're all in favor of Tatas.
Absolutely.
It's co-hosted.
Like TD Bank.
Yes, TD Bank. Exactly. Let's see. Moon Tower Comedy Festival is coming back to Austin, so that's my Christmas in the comedy universe, and so there'll be some pretty cool national acts that I'll be able to talk to. But yeah, Comedy Wham. Listen on the podcast and look at the website for the cool articles. We've got over 150 interviews, so there's a good chance a comic is on that list. If they
at least one,
yeah, and all of the Letterkenny episodes, of course.
Yes.
I have a quick question for you, and also for Dean here, because I don't remember the name of it. But what's the podcast convention that's happening in Texas? Pod Movement or something.
Podcast.
Yes, Podcast Movement.
That's happening in August.
So, any chance you have any ideas of going down to that? Since I know you're in Austin and it's in Dallas, so it's not like next door. But
yeah, it's always been. We had thought about it when I was more active with the Radio Tatas podcast. I mean, it is a big podcast. Libsyn it kind of gives free advertising to the Libsyn hosted podcast, so that's kind of a cool thing.
Nice.
I guess if I had the money, because it is not a cheap convention to attend.
Right. I didn't want to put you on the spot, just that we're thinking about it.
Most cons these days are not cheap.
Yeah, very true. I mean, if I knew that I would know somebody there, that might up the. But yeah, Dallas is 3.5.
We'll talk if we can figure that out.
Yeah.
Because I know Dean doesn't want to go to LA, so the LA one is out.
LA?
Even though LA would be cheaper.
I love LA.
LA.
The tacos are good in LA.
But yeah, maybe we can get a big Airbnb.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Just split the cost, and then just all drive.
I dig it.
I'm with it.
I don't drive, but yeah.
You drive, Tiara. Valerie, thank you so much again for joining us. It's been wonderful as ever, and we look forward to having you on again.
Yes.
And so, everybody go out, check out Comedy Wham, and what was the other one?
Radio Tatas.
Radio Tatas.
That's the one you should remember.
Yeah,
I should. I remember the Tatas. So thank you again, and we look forward to having you on. And everybody, take care. Be your wonderful DJ selves.
If you celebrate Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah,
this episode will be coming out on Thanksgiving Day in the U.S.
on Thanksgiving Day in U.S. American
Thanksgiving. Yes,
Turkey Day. As
Canadians have already had their Thanksgiving.
And and go Cowboys for that. So.
Go Seahawks right now. I should go find out what their score is.
All right. Thanks, Valerie. Take care now.
Bye.
Gold in my mouth while I'm fucking on bitches. I guess it's just part of my religion.
Thanks for listening to this episode of How Are You Now? If you like us, subscribe. Give us a nice review. 5 stars or so. That works. If you don't have to subscribe or any of that. But we thank you for joining us this time. If you want to subscribe and give us a nice review, you can do that on iTunes/Apple Podcasts. You can also subscribe to us on podchaser.com and give us a nice review there. We'd really appreciate that. Also, huge thanks to our first hip-hop artist for the show, Mesh. You will find her information in the show notes. She's on Instagram, Twitter, and DistroKid. So thanks again. We'll see you DJing soon. Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
I've been killing niggas. I've been drowning people. I turn fucking evil. I traded half my life to see y'all time. Don't make me end it now. My shitty got me eyes work fine. My shitty got me eyes work fine. Gold in my mouth while I'm fucking on bitches. I guess it's just part of my religion. Supreme on my phone, but you all in my business. Mixing in pleasure, I did it. I just copped something. I just went and took the top off it. 2.9, I'm at 100. Just not your lane, don't come for it.
God protect my thoughts, I've been killing niggas. I've been drowning people. I turn fucking evil. I traded half my life to see y'all time. Don't make me end it now. My shitty got me eyes work. Fuck.
Gold in my mouth while I'm fucking on bitches. I guess it's just part of my religion. Supreme on my phone, but you all in my business. Mixing in pleasure, I did it. I just copped something. I just went to the top off it. 2.9, I'm at 100. This not your lane, don't come for it. Gold in my mouth while I'm fucking on bitches. I guess it's just part of my religion. Supreme on my phone, but you all in my business. Mixing in pleasure, I did it. I just copped something. I just went to the top off it. 2.9, I'm at 100. This not your lane, don't come for it.